Last session, I shared about what most people don't realize when it comes to their strengths and how we should spend most of our time focusing on our strengths and less time caring about our weaknesses. Today, I want to talk about how we can use our weaknesses to enhance our leadership. You see, what most of us do, and I'm guilty of this too, is that we love to magnify our strengths. We elevate the significance of our successes, and then we downplay or even avoid our weaknesses. The funny thing about this is we all have weaknesses, and admitting them is not weak. It actually shows maturity, strength, and confidence. If you avoid your weaknesses, they grow and they can distract, hinder, and even disqualify you at times from leadership. I actually learned this the hard way during my first year of playing college basketball. Now, my number one strength, besides being overly competitive and having a huge work ethic, is my mid-range jumper. Now, in today's world, it's a lost art because of the three-point explosion, but that was my best shot. I could hit that consistently in high school. My weakest skill in basketball, ball handling by far, which is ironic since most of the time the position that I played was point guard. But you see, in high school, I could compensate for it. I was quicker than most guys. I didn't have to dribble the ball a whole lot. I just dribbled around them because I was faster. However, I got to college and that weakness was exposed. People started noticing that I wasn't as good at ball handling. And I tell you what, it was frustrating because I couldn't get around them because they were just as quick, if not quicker, than I was. And to make matters worse, not only was I struggling to hand the ball, but guess what? That started to affect my number one strength, which was my jump shot. I couldn't dribble the ball to create space to get an opening to get my jumper off. That weakness bled in to affecting my number one strength, which is the mid-range jumper. So what did I do? I spent the entire offseason between that first year and my second year, and I focused a ton on dribbling the ball and ball handling skills. I didn't give up shooting the ball. I still shot the ball a lot, but I had intentional effort to get better at ball handling. And you know what? I did. Now, that didn't mean I was the greatest ball handler on the team. I still rode the bench, but I did get that skill to par or to average. And you know what? My jumper got better. That weakness stopped hindering or distracting from my strength. And that's what the most successful people do. They know their strengths and weaknesses. They spend most of their time living or operating in their strengths. And when it comes to their weaknesses, they get them to par or to average. You see, one of the powers that weaknesses have is they can overshadow our strengths. But if we get them to par or average, then we can live and be known for our strengths. And they don't have power anymore. Our weaknesses will probably never be our strengths, but we can get them to par so that people know us from those strengths. Now, weaknesses also have another power to them. I believe we should live in our strengths, but I think we should teach from our weaknesses. Now, that might seem counterintuitive, but let me illustrate it with this story. Apparently, the story goes, when it comes to Ted Williams, one of the greatest hitters ever to play the game of baseball, that he had unbelievable eyesight. But many people did not know this, including himself. When he was later on in his career, there was a young teammate of his during batting practice who was struggling hitting the ball. Finally, Ted Williams, getting frustrated, said, "Just look at the seams of the ball." And everybody else who heard stood in kind of amazement. You can see the specific seams on the ball. Apparently, he didn't realize how great his eyesight was. They say, by the way, rumor has it, that on a good day, he could actually see the commissioner's signature on a fastball. That's unbelievable eyesight. Now, I'm not saying Ted Williams wouldn't be a good hitting coach, but I will tell you this, he would struggle at times because he has a natural gifting that most people don't have when it comes to his eyesight. I see this when it comes to basketball. I can definitely teach a jump shot. I know the techniques, I know the skills, and I can give some tricks of the trade. But you know what skill I'm better at teaching? Ball handling. You know why? Because I had to struggle through it just to get it to par or average. And by the way, when we teach from our weakness, not only sometimes are we a better teacher, those lessons are more impactful. When we share out of our failure or our struggle, people in the audience, they remember it more. Carey Nieuwhof, who's a pastor and author, says that people admire your strengths, but they identify with your weaknesses. If you want to harness the power of weaknesses, get them to par, but then teach from them. All right, here's today's game plan. I want you to identify your top 3 weaknesses. You're probably going to have to get people around you, okay, to share with you, because most of us don't realize the significance of our weaknesses. We have blind spots. So get some people you trust who's going to tell you hard truth, even if it hurts, and have them share some things that you can work on and improve in. Then I want you to create a plan to get those weaknesses to par or average. If you're struggling with it, go to our questions page and send me a question. I would love to be able to help you out with this process. Let me leave you with our treatable lesson. Great leaders refine or perfect their strengths, and then they lean in to their weaknesses.